Arekaranaya songs. And just to give a little introduction about myself, this is me. My name is Kevin Kuriakos. I am from Philadelphia, USA, Pennsylvania. I used to live in Dubai for a bit, then moved to India, and then moved to the USA in 2019. So that's just a little bit about me. And for today's session, these are the main topics that we will be covering. So we're just going to look at what are Kananaya songs, why are these songs important to us, what are the different types of songs that we have, and we're just going to look at some examples of some popular Kananaya songs. What are Kananaya songs? Kananaya songs are basically just folk songs sung traditionally by our community at our different events. And they contain a lot of information. They have a lot of stories from our history. They have stories from the Bible about the lives of saints, and also regarding our migration, our arrival, some events that happened after that. So it's really cool. The only difficult part is if you listen to the language, it's a really old form of Malayalam, so it might be a little difficult to understand. But there are people who know translations of that. So if you do really want to learn the stories, I'll explain a little bit today, but they really are pretty interesting. And Kananaya songs, they were written hundreds and hundreds of years back, and they have been passed down from generation to generation. And they are, because of that, they are considered a very important part of not just our heritage, but also the heritage of the state of Kerala, where we're from. So that is just an overview of what Kananaya songs are, and why exactly are these songs important to us. So Kananaya songs are important because it contains several descriptions of our events, different events in our history, and because of this, they are also considered a very important source to learn our history or know more about our history from. So a lot of these songs are about our migration. I hope you remember the story of our migration from the last session. And again, they also have other descriptions of how we built some churches in Kerala, lives of saints, stories from the Bible, a lot of things like that. And to understand really why we call them a source of our history, we need to go way back to the old times in Kerala, the old society. We really do not have very well preserved records of our history and traditions. By very well preserved records, I mean written records. So we don't have any old books, manuscripts. We don't have a lot of those. And we do have mentions of the arrival of Knaithom and our ancestors from Syria several years back, and they were mostly written after the 17th century. And they were mostly written by foreigners who were visiting Kerala. Like there were some Portuguese bishops, priests, some travelers. So people like that have written a little bit about us, but not anything in depth or, a lot of details of our story, of our history. And our community is almost 1,700 years old in Kerala after our migration. So that's 17 centuries, and we don't have written records about it. So you must be like, okay, Kevin Chatai, so we have 5 weeks of Canada history sessions. We have a lot of history. We have a lot of books. Where did we learn all this history from? So in the earlier days, a lot of history was actually written on, especially in Kerala. They were written on these things called palm leaf manuscripts. If you don't know what a palm leaf manuscript is, palm leaf basically is the leaf of the palm tree. And the good thing about this tree was it was, the leaf of this tree was that it was very wide. So you could write on it, like you see over here, and people would just, compile them into little books. And the problem with that method of, writing down history is it's not like paper. It's, pretty much like paper, yes, but it still is the leaf from a tree. It can get damaged in so many ways. And we also might have had books, but they might have been destroyed through different events. It might have been destroyed accidentally. It might have been destroyed on purpose. There were events like that. So, there are a lot of ways that these documents might have been destroyed. So we don't know if there was a lot of documents describing our history, our immigration, all that stuff. But the point is, we don't have a lot. What we do have are our Kananaya songs. Now, Kananaya songs are a way of passing down our history from generation to generation by word of mouth. So by word of mouth, what exactly does it mean? So for example, you go to a park, it's a really nice park. There are a lot of slides, a lot of rides. There's a lot of space for you to play in. You go and tell your friend about that park. His friend, I mean, your friend tells it to his friend. And then, so by telling it to other people, everyone learns about this. That is pretty much how our Kannada songs were transmitted earlier, from generation to generation. And it was mostly transmitted in the form of stories and songs. And it not only tells us about our history before our arrival and settlement, but also after, what happened after we came to Kodungalur. And because they contain a lot of this history, they are considered a very important source of our history. And next, we're going to look at how do we still know our songs. So I did say that earlier, it was passed down through word of mouth for hundreds and hundreds of generations. But, let's just look at how we still know of these songs. So we don't know the exact origin of our ancient songs. This again is a problem with documentation. Not everyone wrote it down properly, so we don't know who composed these songs, when were they composed, in what year, how old are they. We don't have an exact idea, and there's also a chance that so for example, the arrival at Kodungalur, right? The song regarding that, or the songs regarding that, might have been written maybe 200 years after our arrival. So we don't know about that either. But what we do know is all these songs are very descriptive. They have a lot of information regarding our arrival, and the songs would be sung at different events. Karanaya weddings, at churches, feasts at churches like Pallipperunals, Chandan Jarsu, Mailanji. We have a lot of events, even places where Karanaya people simply gather. They might have sung these songs. And the important part is a lot of our ancestors learned these songs that way, by hearing other people sing it, learning it from them, learning it from their parents. They would pass it on to their children. That's how these songs got transmitted initially. And then eventually, you remember I showed you the palm leaf manuscript? People started writing down our Kranaya songs on palm leaf manuscripts. And some Kranaya families, they also started preserving these manuscripts. So they kept them for years and years until we were able to get it from them and publish into books. We'll go more into that. So just to show you an example of one of these palm leaf manuscripts, take a look at this picture. This picture, interestingly, is a palm leaf manuscript that has actual Kranaya songs. So this manuscript was actually preserved by a Kranaya family. Now, if you look at the, I'm not very sure how many of you know to read Malayalam, but if you do know how to read Malayalam, if you look at the manuscript, you can see that the letters, the writing, it's all in the Malayalam script. But like I said, it was the old Malayalam. The old Malayalam was a mix of so many languages. There was a little bit of Sanskrit, there was a little bit of Tamil. So it's a mix of language. So it might be difficult to read this manuscript and understand it. I tried, I was not able to. But this manuscript, we had several of these, and a lot of our songs were written down on manuscripts like this. And the fun thing is a lot of families preserved them. So we were able to get these songs from different families and then publish them. And there was one person of mention that I want to talk about who managed to actually acquire, just reach out to all the families who had these manuscripts and then get it from them. His name was P.U. Lucas. And in 1910, so that's about 110, I'm bad at math, I'm sorry, 110 or 120 years back, what P.U. Lucas did was he went to these Kranaya families and he gathered all these manuscripts from them, just to write down all these songs. And then he published them into a book called Puradana Pattugal. This book is very famous in our community. It is amazing because it has a lot of our songs and it also has a lot of our history as well. And, these palm leaf manuscripts, they were published almost 200 years ago. And the thing with palm leaf manuscript is it is not easily reproducible, right? We cannot make another palm leaf manuscript to another person because it's hard to make. The good thing with books is we can print hundreds and hundreds of books. So when P.U. Lucas printed out this book, it became a very good source for learning our songs. I do have this book at home in India. I have not read it yet though, but I will be after this session. And after the book was published in 1910, we had several different copies of it come out. And now, of course, instead of using the book, we have several other sources like CDs, cassettes, and all that. So how do we know about our history, or I mean the songs, or how did we learn our songs? First, we had word of mouth, and for hundreds of years, that's how our people learned our songs. Next, we had palm leaf manuscripts, which were written down and preserved by Kanaya families, which was then published into a book by P.U. Lucas. And then we have CDs, we have the internet, we have cassette tapes. Cassette tapes, if no one knows what this is or has, oh, I'm sorry, let me just go back to that. I was just trying to draw around it, sorry about that. So this thing over here is very old. If you have not seen it, you probably never will either, but it's really old and we don't need to worry about it. It's just from music. But, the important thing is our families, our ancestors, they passed down these songs for hundreds and hundreds of years by word of mouth, by writing it down. And now we have so many different ways of learning it. So it is really amazing. Now we are going to look at what different type of Kananaya songs we have. So we have a lot of songs, okay, and a lot of these songs are sung at, some of these songs are sung only at specific occasions like weddings, and some of these songs, they are related to other events, might be history, might be Bible stories, might be during the building of a church, but we'll go ahead and look into all of that. For an overview, these are the different types of Kananaya songs we have. We have wedding songs, which are sung at weddings, and they mostly have, our history. We have songs of churches. So some churches, they have songs of their own. Think of it like the national anthem for a country. And then we have Bible songs. So they mostly, they're educational. They tell a story of different stories of different people in the Bible, different stories of saints, things like that. And then we have Margam Kali songs. I hope you enjoyed the first Margam Kali video that we had. I was pretty much engrossed in it. That's one of the best performances I've ever seen. But Margam Kali songs, they usually tell the story of Saint Thomas the Apostle. And finally, we have one interesting category that is songs of poets or bards. In Malayalam, they are called Panam Butter. So let's take a look at what are these different songs? First, we're going to look at wedding songs. Now, I bet that all of you have been to at least one Kananaya wedding. It might have been a cousin, a relative, a family friend, or maybe even your brother and sister if they're old enough. But if you have been to one of these weddings, or if you have been to more than one wedding, you might have noticed that we have a lot of songs that are sung during every wedding. And we also have some songs that are sung during a particular part of our wedding ceremony. So let's take a look at what these songs are about. So Kranai wedding songs, they are songs sung during Kranai weddings and other related ceremonies, especially in the houses of the bride and the groom. Now, if you look at the Kranai wedding ceremony, it's not just a one-day event. We have Chandan Jathu, we have Mailanjiri. On the day of the wedding, we have several events like blessing from the elders. We will learn all about that later on during our sessions. But yeah, we do have several events, and we also have so many songs that are sung during Kranai weddings. And the wedding songs, they usually have story about our immigration and how the Kananaya people came from Syria to India and what happened after all of that, after we got there, stories regarding that. And that basically is what wedding songs are. Wedding songs are sung at Kananaya weddings, and they mostly contain our history. Next, we're going to look at songs of the churches. So songs of the churches, this is something like a custom, or something that was done during the olden days in Kerala. So if you go to a Palli Perunnal, a Kananaya Palli Perunnal, at some Pallis, they have a song for their own church. And these songs are called songs of the churches. Usually what these songs describe are, the building of the church, who gave the land, what happened during the building, who is the patron saint of that church. So things like that. That is usually what they describe. And songs of the churches, they are not only sung at churches. If you see someone, or if you meet someone from that parish, for example, the parish on the right, on the left that you see, this one right here is Punatarapalli, which is a very old church in Kerala. This is St. Stephen's Church, Uravu, which is also another church. And both these churches have songs of their own, which describes the saint, the building of the church, a lot of things like that. And the people who belong to those parishes, it's a matter of pride for them, to be able to sing that song. They not only sing it at those churches, they sing it at several different Klana events. And let's take a look into, what these songs are. So in Kerala, long before, if you remember what I said before, people were not very good at writing down events, about the construction of the church or any events surrounding the construction of the church. So what they used to do was they used to compose a song after building the church, and then everyone would learn that and then sing it at occasions. So people would be, able to learn or recount the history of how this church was built. So it includes planning of the church, people involved, priests who took initiatives, the day of the foundation, a lot of information like that. And these songs were also written hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So if you remember the photo of Punatrapalli that I showed just before, the old church was built in 1625. That is more than, oh, I wouldn't say more than 500 years back, but it is hundreds of years old. And from 1625, we have managed to actually preserve that song and sing it even now. I have a cousin who is from Pullathirapalli. He sings that song. He sang that song at his wedding. He sings that song at our Palli Perumal. He sings it everywhere, even when our families have a get together. So it's a matter of pride for them. And me being a Karanaya person, this song is important to me too, because it's a part of my heritage. So I learned that song and I sing it with them. So that's basically what songs of churches are. Next, we're going to look at Bible songs. So the Bible songs, they sometimes are also called Vattakalipattu in Malayalam. And basically what they do is they describe stories from the Bible or lives of saints. That's usually what they do. And the main intention of these Bible songs are to, just transmit, just teach people the story or the different events that happened in the Bible during the life and times of our saints. And these songs also are usually sung at our weddings, Chandan Jattras and Mailanjidil, a lot of other events. That's when these songs are usually sung. Next, we have our Margamkali songs. So Margamkali songs, if you look at that picture, I'm pretty sure that most of you probably might have seen Margamkali as being danced mostly by women, but Margamkali, interestingly, was also originally a dance that was done by men. And Margamkali actually is pretty amazing because it's a very old art form, which we also have carried down from generation to generation. And through hundreds of years, we still have preserved that art. And if you do want to see it, I believe a lot of our families now have it at their weddings, just as a performance. So it would be very interesting. And it also is a competition item. So people learn it for competitions as well. And the Margamkali song, they are basically songs that are traditional dance, that is a Margamkali is performed to. It usually describes the story of Saint Thomas the Apostle. And it's not just Kananaya people who dance Margamkali. It's done by the St. Thomas Christians, and it's also done by non-Christians, because since Margamkali is a very, very old form of art, of dance, it has been given a lot of recognition by the government of Kerala as an old art form. And it was made into a competition item. And so because of that, it's not just us who learn it. There are a lot of people, a lot of different societies in Kerala who learn Margamkali, who learn to sing the song for competitions. And that way they have been able to spread and keep this tradition alive of Margamkali. So Margamkali song basically is the song that tells the story of Saint Thomas the Apostle, and it is used for our Margamkali performance, for our dance. And that was the song that we saw first before our session started. And finally, we have one interesting type of song that is Panam Butter. So Panam Butter can be translated as Song of Poets. And this particular song, it's interesting because this actually was not composed by Knanaya people. These songs were actually composed by Hindu poets. And what they describe is they describe the immigration led by Knaitomen and our arrival and a lot of events that happened after it. It has a very interesting story. And the Panampata, because it was not composed by Knanaya people or spread by Knanaya people, it was not originally considered a Knanaya song. But then recently, and this was not very far back, I would say 100 years back, we got to know a lot more about these songs. The sad thing is, we don't have a lot of panan. So panan means poet, right? We don't have a lot of poets who sing these songs anymore. And it's kind of a dead art form, but we have included it in our under our songs because it directly relates to us. It tells us our story, and that was also one way in which we kept our traditional or our stories and our history alive. So that is the importance of Panam Butter. So before I go into a lot more details into that, let's just take a look at who a Panan is. So Panan in Malayalam actually means the one who sings, and these people are also as old as we are. And what they used to do was they used to go into different places or different houses. They even sung at the palaces or darbars of kings. So if you don't know what a darbar is, let me just go back once again. Sorry about that. So a darbar. In the older times, kings, right? So kings would have their relatives, their friends, they would have their ministers. And from time to time inside their palaces, they would have a little gathering. There would be a lot of music, there would be a lot of dancing. And the Panans or these poets, they used to go there and they used to sing about old stories, legends, maybe from a religious book of the Hindus or even from the Christians. So that's what they usually used to do. And they also used to go from different houses, from house to house singing. And it did not matter, I mean, actually it did matter. So whichever house they went to, they used to sing songs that were related to the people who were in that house. So for example, if a poet or a Panit went to a Hindu house, he would sing about a Hindu legend. If he went to a Christian house, he would sing about Christian legends. And what they would get in return is, they would get some money, or they would get material donations, like, in the olden days, right, we didn't do a lot of trade using money. So we used to give them, like grains or coconuts or betel leaves. So, they used to do it for that. That's basically what they did. And to describe what a panan looks like, so we don't have panans anymore, but it is imagined that this is what they used to look like before. And basically they would have an umbrella because it's really hot outside, it's sunny, they need to move from house to house. And they also had this little instrument called an uduk. This is what it looks like, and this is what they used to give the beat to their songs and how they sung those songs. And what the Panan songs are, they used to be sung during Kranaya marriages mostly. So before, if a Kranaya house or a Christian house even was having a wedding, Panans would go there and they would sing the song, and then they would get some money in return. And one interesting thing to note is they did not just sing Kranaya songs, or their song mostly was about Kranai Toman. They didn't sing it just at Kranaya houses. They also sang it at the houses of St. Thomas Christians. So basically the reason is they didn't know who was Kranaya, who was not Kranaya, because they are not a part of our community, right? Or they don't know a lot about it. But they were also welcomed at the houses of St. Thomas Christians who were not Kranaya. Because why did we come from Syria? We came from Syria because we saw that there was not a lot of organization in the church in Kerala. So, we decided to send people over there as missionaries. Basically, we had priests, we had deacons. So that was how we came to Kerala. And that helped St. Thomas Christians a lot, which is why the Panans and the story that they sang about Knai Thoman was very much welcomed in the houses of St. Thomas Christians as well. And again, like I said, the sad thing is we don't have a lot of Panans anymore, but we managed to record some of these songs sung by original Panans who knew these songs, or poets, and that way we were able to record and preserve these songs. So we still have them. And I believe the last time that we published it was in a CD called Knanaya Sangeetika. If you look for it, there are versions of the song on YouTube as well, if you want to listen to it. That is pretty much everything I have on Knanaya song.